All right. Just going to do a quick mic check here. All right. The Canuck has internet difficulties. So he'll not be here on the show. So I'm going to just bang through what we have to go over. And let me check a few what we have. Starting it off, we got Ukraine updates. Russia has been removed from the Human Rights Council.
And United Nations General Assembly suspending Russia.
This is from CBSNews.com. United Nations. Russia suspended from Human Rights Council on Thursday for what the resolution called reports of gross and systemic violations and abuses of human rights and violations of international humanitarian law in its invasion of Ukraine. The 193 Nation General Assembly vote, the only one in 11 years that suspended a nation from the Human Rights Council, required a two-thirds supermajority of those present and voting, a count that excludes abstentions. The resolution passed 93-24 with 58 nations abstaining. The General Assembly vote Thursday on whether to suspend Russia from UN's main human rights body was an initiative driven by the Biden administration in response to the brutal killing of hundreds of civilians in Ukraine by Russian forces. Moved by the U.S., UK, and their allies to remove Russia from the powerless 47-nation Geneva-based Human Rights Council and what many member nations are human rights abusers further isolates Russia politically from the world despite Russia's veto power on the Security Council, diplomats said after the vote. Because abstentions would not count in the tally of the resolution's passage and the vote was expected to be more divided than recent General Assembly votes, Russia had sent a warning to several nations. Gonna do a short video here up at the top.
From its Human Rights Council.
That's right. Today's vote follows global outrage over reports Russian forces killed civilians as they retreated from regions around Kyiv. To talk more about today's vote is CBS News correspondent Pamela Falk. She joins us from the United Nations. Pamela, great to see you. So what is the larger impact of the UN voting to suspend Russia from its human rights body? And what kind of message does that send both to Russia and the world?
Well, here at the United Nations and the General Assembly did vote to suspend Russia. It was a vote of 93 votes in favor, 24 votes against, and 58 abstentions. So if you put together the yes and abstention vote, it's a pretty overwhelming number of 150 nations that basically allowed this to go forward. Now, the significance is not in the powerless 47-nation Geneva-based Human Rights Council. It's the fact that the U.S.-driven and UK and many other allies of the United States sent a message to Russia that it will be isolated politically in the world in the General Assembly by the show of this because of the brutality of the what they called gross violations of human rights that are cited in the resolution to suspend Russia. So that's the main impact. It's not in the fact that Russia now won't vote in the Human Rights Council. It's really that despite Russia's veto on the Security Council, the U.S. and other countries have found ways to send the message through the General Assembly to Russia.
You know, Pamela, many might find it strange that...
All right, so from CBSNews.com. And moving on, gotta clean up some things here. I'm gonna post the show notes here. Get that in the chat. And we got drone footage. Shows Ukrainian tank ambush, ambushing Russian column. And check this out. There's no audio on this. The little flags above each tank. This is coming from Newsweek. Footage captured by Ukrainian military drone shows Ukrainian tank ambushing a Russian column in Novobasin in Ukraine on March 31st. The standoff was between Dmitry Korshinsky Brotherhood Battalion, or the Bratsovo Brotherhood Battalion, and Russia. Footage shows one Ukrainian tank marked with the Ukrainian flag taking down several Russian tanks, also marked. And got a little bit more in this video. Actually gonna move to another video here. And this is actually the same footage. Moving on. Coming from scmp.com, Russia appoints new Ukraine war commander with history of brutality. Says U.S. official. Russia has had no central war commander on the ground, has turned to General Alexander Dvornikov, who has a record of brutality against civilians in Syria. This general will just be another author of crimes and brutality against Ukraine civilians, said U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. So this is coming from the South China Morning Post. After its striking post-invasion setbacks, Russia has appointed a new Ukraine war commander, a U.S. official said on Sunday. Russia turned to General Alexander Dvornikov, 60, one of Russia's most experienced military officers, and according to U.S. officials, a general with a record of brutality against civilians in Syria and other war theaters. Up to now, Russia has no central war commander on the ground. The senior U.S. official who confirmed the general's appointment was not authorized to be identified and spoke on condition of anonymity. But the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said no appointment of any general can erase the fact that Russia has already faced a strategic failure in Ukraine. And quick article here from BBC News. How will Russia attack Ukraine's new front lines? This is posted 21 hours ago. Conflict in Ukraine has shifted to the east of the country, where Ukrainian forces are battle-hardened and well-prepared. Analysts believe Ukraine's best units are in the east and that they are dug into trench systems and other fortified positions. So far, Ukrainian troops have strongly resisted the Russian advance, but they could be heavily outnumbered by Russian forces who are inching forwards in some areas. Where will the key battles be fought? Russian officials have said the focus of its forces is now the complete liberation of the Donbass, broadly referring to Ukraine's eastern regions of Luhansk and Donetsk. The terrain in the east will pose big challenges for the Russians as they attack. With less wooded land than the north of the country, analysts say open areas may favor the Ukrainian defenders. Here's the map. It's that whole eastern area, which actually Ukraine has been basically fighting a civil war there for some time now. The battle for Slovoskis is likely to be the next pivotal battle of the war, according to the Institute for the Study of War. If Russian troops advancing from Izium are able to take the town, they could then choose to advance east towards Rybizny to encircle a relatively small group of Ukrainian forces, or head further south to encircle a larger Ukrainian contingent. If Mariupol falls to the Russians, more troops may also be available to push north into the area west of Donetsk. How will the Ukrainians preparing. Brigadier Ben Barry, retired of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, say Ukrainian forces have had years to prepare the defenses and that Russian troops may struggle to force them out. It's not just World War I style trenches on the Ukrainian side. They will have also fortified key towns and villages they want to defend, he says. Ukrainian armored vehicles and other equipment are positioned in revetments or earth banks for protection, he says. Many Ukrainian troops in the east are highly experienced. They have been holding back Russian separatists since the conflict of 2014. Their numbers may also be boosted should Ukraine's military chiefs redeploy units no longer needed to defend Kiev as Russia's withdrawal from the north. How will Russia attack? Brigadier Barrett says Russia is likely to make heavy use of artillery to break down strong Ukrainian defenses from the air before pushing forward on the ground. Artillery is heavy weaponry designed to fire munitions much further than small arms. Attacking Ukrainian troops head-on with infantry without a heavy artillery bombardment first risks huge Russian casualties and greatly increases the risk of defeat. Russia has a range of weaponry to draw on, particularly self-propelled artillery, in which Russia dominates, will be a very significant factor, says Brigadier Barry. Here's the TOS 1A thermobaric weapon. Weight is 45 tons. Crew is 3. Range 6.2 miles with max speed of 37 miles per hour. So expect to see that in that eastern region of Ukraine. Here we get to the war crimes section and how are they defined, investigated, and punished. International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor has already announced an investigation into Russia's conduct in Ukraine as invasion continues and atrocities are alleged in Bucha. Canuck Yankee, chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, announced just 4 days into Russia's war in Ukraine that he would open an investigation into alleged war crimes as rapidly as possible. So that is one of the main stories coming out, that civilians in large numbers, in the hundreds, apparently were massacred in Bucha. Coming from globalnews.ca, behind the lines of Kiev's Territorial Defense Force. And it looks like this is with Russia withdrawing. This is posted April 2nd. There may not be a lot of advancement by Russia into Kiev as things appear to be moving more towards that eastern front in the Donbass area. But nonetheless, let's check out this video. Do a few minutes.
It's morning in Kyiv. The distant sounds of Russian rockets echo in Ukraine's capital.
Гради чути. Ну, якщо ні. 14 секунд, то у вас є, щоб впасти на землю. Гради б'ють просто площу квадратом. Любе укриття, любе, бровка навіть врятує.
Before the war, Ruslan Yarmoliuk worked as a journalist. But when Russian forces encroached on Ukrainian territory, he turned in his camera for a gun.
22 роки працюю журналістом на різних телекомпаніях. Працював в різних точках гарячих. В Грузії, в Афганістані, в Узбекистані. Тобто ніколи не думав, що доведеться працювати.
Ruslan is part of a new force that has assembled to protect Ukrainian towns and cities. While the country's military fights Russian forces on the front lines, civilians have taken up arms to protect their homes.
Фактично робота повноцінно паралізована. Є два варіанти: або чимось допомагати, там, волонтерити, або йти захищати країну. Тому я вибрав другий варіант – йти захищати країну.
And I also want to move back to the Bucha massacre. I've got an article from Al Jazeera. Germany says Russian radio message discusses Bucha killings. In intercepted radio message, Russian soldiers said to talk about interrogating and killing soldiers and civilians. Here's a picture. Hiri Lahosky, 26, mourns next to the grave of his friend Igor Levenko, who, according to residents, was killed by Russian soldiers after they found him beside a building's basement amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine in Bucha, in Kiev region, Ukraine. Posted April 6, 2022. Germany says it has intercepted radio conversations in which Russian troops discussed the killing of civilians in the Ukrainian city of Bucha. Germany magazine Der Spiegel, which first reported on the intercepted communication on Thursday, said the country's foreign intelligence service, the BND, obtained conversations among Russian soldiers about the shootings of civilians. And two separate communications, Russian troops talk about questioning Ukrainian soldiers and civilians and then shooting them, according to the Washington Post, citing an intelligence official familiar with the findings. Some of the intercepted intelligence seems to match the locations of bodies found along the main road through Bucha, northwest of Kiev. In one intercepted message, a soldier seemingly heard telling another that they had shot a person riding a bicycle. In another intercepted conversation, a man is heard saying, "First you interrogate soldiers, then you shoot them." Russia has vehemently denied taking part in any atrocities in Bucha, claiming that the bodies seen lying on the ground were staged. Der Spiegel claimed that the intercepted comments now appear to completely refute Russia's denials. Images of atrocities emerging from Bucha have galvanized calls for probes into possible war crimes, thus leading to Russia being removed from Human Rights Council. Moving on, I'll do a quick article here about Taiwan. For Taiwanese, the threat of a Chinese invasion is part of life. It's also coming from Al Jazeera. After decades of living with the threat of war, we cope by being both highly tense and unexpectedly relaxed. People from Taiwan like to joke that you can always tell that someone is Taiwanese if their reaction to a loud bang is to ask, "Is the Chinese army attacking us?" It is a joke that we Taiwanese make to poke fun at ourselves when we are with our foreign friends, Chinese or otherwise, but there is also truth to it. In Taiwan, children ask this question whenever there is a loud sound outside or when Chinese military planes fly nearby, as they often do. It is a knee-jerk reaction given the constant talk of a potential invasion in the media, by politicians, and among the general population. Threat of invasion by China, which sees Taiwan as a breakaway province, while self-ruled Taiwan considers itself to be independent as part of the daily life in Taiwan. For more than 70 years, people have waited for a war that is yet to come. In 1949, China and Taiwan effectively came under the rule of two different parties. After the Kuomintang KMT that had been ruling both fled to the island. The Communist Party took over the mainland, evolving to become today's government of China. Every Chinese leader since then has claimed to have a former military plan to recover Taiwan. Taiwanese do not look as though they are living with the threat of conflict, vigilant, panicked, or even ready to flee. Quite the opposite. Over the decades, the Taiwanese deployed a unique coping philosophy. We go through our days with the sort of attitude that can be best described as casual. Indeed, the political tensions are high and the possibility of invasion grows. People in Taiwan may be outwardly casual while thinking, as the Taiwanese expression goes, the wolf is coming, but when tensions simmer down, they will think the wolf is sleeping. Maybe there will be no war. In recent months, military and political tensions have risen between China and Taiwan with incursions by Chinese warplanes in the island's air defense zone. More than 150 in early October, and the U.S. saying it would defend Taiwan in the event of an invasion. Some experts have said tensions are at their worst since the third Taiwan Strait crisis, when China fired missiles into Taiwanese waters in 1996. Moving on, let's check out Britain, U.S., and Australia joined to develop hypersonic weapons. Canada excluded. Russia is known to be the most advanced with hypersonic weapons. China, the CCP, recently did some hypersonic missile tests. So China's doing their best to try to catch up with Russia. This comes from the nationalpost.com. The AUKUS Defense Alliance formed last September is widening its scope again with Canada's without Canada's involvement. Britain, the United States, and Australia on Tuesday agreed to cooperate in hypersonic weapons and electronic warfare capabilities. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's office said following a call between leaders of the new defense alliance. The new AUKUS alliance launched last September prompted Australia to cancel a contract for a conventional French submarine in favor of nuclear submarine programs supported by the United States and Britain, damaging relations with French President Emmanuel Macron. The United States and Australia already have a hypersonic weapon program called SciFire, an acronym for Southern Cross Integrated Flight Research Experiment. British officials say that though Britain would not join that program at this point, the three countries would work together on research and development in the area to expand their options. Biden's administration is investing in the research and development of hypersonic missiles, which travel at 5 times the speed of sound, as Russia's February invasion of Ukraine has intensified concerns about European security. In light of Russia's unprovoked, unjustified, and unlawful invasion of Ukraine, we reiterate our unwavering commitment to an international system that respects human rights, the rule of law, and the peaceful resolution of disputes free from coercion, the leader said. Adding also, they reaffirmed their commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. At the time of the announcement, September 15th, 2021, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau shrugged off Canada's exclusion, saying the alliance is about selling Australia nuclear submarines, something that doesn't interest Canada. Justice Trudeau said he was told the alliance will have no impact on the Five Eyes partnership, which compromises the 3 AUKUS players, plus Canada and New Zealand. Further, the new intelligence deal between the 3 key allies won't diminish Canada's ability to defend its own interests in the Indo-Pacific region. Some economic fallout from the sanctions. Coming again from South China Morning Post, Ukraine war, Germany seizes control of Gazprom unit to secure gas supply. The moves to stave off possible acquisition of Gazprom Germania by Russian entities with energy ties between the countries in crisis over Moscow's invasion. Berlin has rejected an EU embargo on Russian gas, saying the imports cannot be substituted in short term. So basically, Germany seizing this Russian gas supply installation. This was posted April 5th. Gazprom Germania, an energy trading, storage, and transmission business ditched by Russia's Gazprom on Friday, will be transferred to Germany's regulator to ensure energy security, Economy Minister Robert Habeck said on Monday. All voting rights in the company will move to the regulator, the Bundesnetzagentur. Habeck told a news conference the move was immediately put into effect by the publication in the Federal Gazette. So, Russia can still turn off the pipeline going to this installation at any time. So I'll have to see what happens with that. Coming out of Bloomberg.com, Russian art worth 42 million seized in Finland under sanctions. Finland has seized more than 42 million euros worth of art en route to Russia under European Union sanctions after President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The art was being returned from museums in Italy and Japan, where the works had been on loan, the Finnish customs told reporters in Helsinki on Wednesday. They arrived in 3 shipments and were taken into custody at the Finnish-Russian border on April 2nd and 3rd. Moving on to NPR.org, Putin's daughters, plural, were just sanctioned. Here's what we know about them. Vladimir Putin's daughter, Katerina Tikhonova, speaks via video link during a panel session last year at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. The U.S. announced additional sanctions against Russia following alleged atrocities committed by Russian troops in Ukraine. Among those on the latest list of sanctions are 2 adult daughters of President Vladimir Putin. We believe that many of Putin's assets are hidden with family members, and that's why we are targeting them, a senior Biden administration official said in a call with reporters on Wednesday. Putin has refused to publicly acknowledge the names of his children, but the Treasury Department identified daughters being sanctioned as Maria Vladimirovna, Vorontsova, and Katerina Vladimirovna Tikhonova. One is a pediatric endocrinologist, the other a former competitive dancer turned tech executive. Putin is intensely private when it comes to his family, and many details about his children have been scarce and shrouded in secrecy. Actually, let me see what this video is about. I don't know if this is in Russian or what.
Мария, здравствуйте. Меня очень давно тревожит тема метаболического синдрома или ожирения.
There's no translation for that. Putin is a grandfather and may have other children. A 2017 televised Q&A reported by Russian news agency TASS. Putin said he had recently welcomed a second grandchild and explained why he shields his family from scrutiny. You see, I do not want them to be brought up as blue bloods. I want them to grow up as normal people, he said. As soon as I state their ages, names, they would be identified immediately, and any enormous interest would damage the kids' development, Putin said. So everything is fine. I'm asking you to understand me correctly and to respect this position. Moving on, I'll do this music festival stuff real quick. The Canuck was going to do this, but unfortunately, his broadband is down. Got the links up here. 2 links from Songkick. This is Canadian version of the site. You can search for concerts in Canada, and there's also a US version. So check those out in the show notes if interested. And let me just clean up a few things here. Global News, CBC. This is from CBC.ca. Ticketmaster to pay $4.5 million for misleading consumers on prices. Investigation found advertised prices did not reflect actual costs to consumers. The Competition Bureau says Ticketmaster will pay $4.5 million in penalties and associated costs to settle a case investigating misleading pricing claims for its online ticket sales. The Bureau said Thursday that Ticketmaster LLC, T-Now Entertainment Group, and Ticketmaster Canada will pay a $4 million penalty and $500,000 for the Bureau's investigation costs. The companies will also create a compliance program as part of a consent agreement. The news comes after the Bureau found Ticketmaster's advertised prices did not reflect the true cost to the consumers, as the online ticket service added mandatory fees later in the purchasing price that often added more than 20% to the cost, and in some cases over 65%. The Bureau found the initial prices misleading despite consumers seeing the additional fees before completing their transaction. And this is also another Similar article from Rolling Stone. Ticketmaster has secretly been cheating you with its own scalpers. Undercover investigation reveals this professional scalping racket run by Ticketmaster itself. This was posted a few years ago, September 19th in 2018. Music fans' ear toward Ticketmaster for expensive concert tickets may be somewhat justified, according to a furious investigation by CBC News and the Toronto Star on Wednesday, detailing a secret scalping scheme by the ticket sales company itself. The two outlets sent journalists undercover scalpers to a live entertainment convention this summer where Ticketmaster reportedly pitched them on underground dealings in its professional resale program through which it takes a cut of profits. Ticketmaster is owned by the entertainment juggernaut Live Nation and lists resellers to grab large batches of tickets from its site and then flip them for higher prices on a Ticketmaster-owned invite-only platform called Trade Desk, touted by the company as the most powerful ticket sales tool ever. Moving on, we've got crypto updates. India crypto trading plummets with heavy 30% tax. Absolutely brutal. Crypto volume dropping 44% in 4 days after introduction of 30% tax. The tax regulation actually went into effect on April 1st, just around 10 days ago. The volume on Indian crypto exchanges saw a steep fall of that number, I guess, is in rupees, 6,000. I can't read that number, but or about rupees 5.19 crore compared to the volume of March 31st, 2022, according to data by Robaco Global. But industry experts expect long-term investors to stay invested. From April 1st, April Fools this year, the 30% tax on virtual digital assets such as cryptocurrencies became applicable. While some had said that this by itself will not cause much of a dent to the crypto industry in India, the initial data is on the contrary. Most crypto exchanges in India have seen a big drop in volume and domain traffic, according to data by Robaco Global, a crypto and blockchaining market research firm. In just the first 4 days of the 30% tax becoming applicable, the volume dropped by Rs 5.19 crore, or 44%, compared to the volume on March 31st. Top exchanges felt the pain. YZRX's volume saw a fall of 40%, Coin DCX 52%, BitBNS 8.9%, and ZepPay 76%. Long-term investors will stay. India has over 10 million crypto users, the second highest in the world, according to Chain Analysis. Vietnam is first. Have to see. Obviously, people are, they have a petition online collecting signatures in India, trying to correct this legislation and try to come up with a better crypto tax legislation in India. We'll see how much momentum that can get. I think there's a pretty good chance they'll do something, because it's pretty extreme what they're doing here. They're basically treating it as gambling, like betting on horses. India does the same thing, taking a 30% tax with gambling like that. Let's see. Moving on with the crypto Treasury Secretary, everyone's favorite here in the grand U.S. of A., Janet Yellen, calls crypto transformative, coming from Coindex.com. U.S. official Yellen addressed CBDC, stablecoins, and regulations. There she is in all her glory, looking stunning as always. Our fine Treasury Secretary. A digital dollar could become a trusted money comparable to physical cash, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said in her first speech on digital assets on Thursday. Speaking to attendees at an American university event, Yellen highlighted the extreme divergence of perceptions about crypto, saying that's often the case with transformative technology. Some proponents speak as if the technology is so radically and beneficially transformative that the government should step back and completely let innovation take its course. Yes, that would be nice, she said. I added that in, that little bit of being nice. On the other hand, skeptics see limited, if any, value in this technology and associated products and advocate that the government take a much more restrictive approach. She focused part of her speech on central bank digital currency, CBDCs, an area of interest for U.S. policymakers over the past few years. The development of our currency to its current form has been a dynamic process that took place over centuries. Today, monetary sovereignty and uniform currency have brought clear benefits for economic growth and stability. Our approach to digital assets must be guided by the appreciation of those benefits, Yellen said. Some have suggested a CBDC could be the next evolution in our currency. A recent report by the Federal Reserve opened a public dialogue about CBDC and the potential benefits and risks that could be associated with issuing one in the U.S. The federal government is working with MIT, an extremely fast digital dollar to be able to process millions and millions of transactions and very, very quickly. And they've been developing actually quite some time, but it's hard to get an exact date on when they started it, but they have publicly announced that. And I would think by next year, I would think we would have a CBDC here in the U.S. We have Putin demanding that his Russian oil be paid for in rubles. He's also stated possibly taking Bitcoin. You've got Saudi Arabia talking to China and CCP about selling Saudi Arabian oil with the CCP's digital yuan. Iran is in that mix also. And the strength of the U.S. petrodollar is definitely waning rapidly. So I would think they're going to do some kind of reset, digital dollar reset next year. Let's check out a little bit of Janet Yellen about CBDCs here. Let me get the video unmuted. And we'll check out this.
That a central bank digital
a little bit low.
Could be the next evolution in our currency. A recent report by the Federal Reserve, it opened a public dialogue about CBDCs and the potential benefits and risks that could be associated with issuing one in the U.S. The President's executive order calls for us to consider this question from several perspectives. For example, what impact would a U.S. CBDC have for implementing macro stabilization policies, and what implications for private credit creation? Could it make the financial system more equitable, accessible, and inclusive? How could it be designed to manage risks associated with national security and financial crime, at the same time including privacy protections? How might a U.S. CBDC interact with existing national currencies, with foreign CBDCs, or with private stablecoins? We need to consider these important questions in the context of the central role that the dollar plays in the world economy. As citizens of
We'll have to see about U.S. Fed CBDC. It actually would give enormous power to the federal government, the big banks. Not sure. Obviously, the big banks want to play a part in this. They've talked about, the big banks I've talked about digital tokens, releasing something like that, but we'll see if there's any information. I really going to be focused on trying to find some information on how the big banks are going to get involved with this as the CBDC approaches. It seems almost certain by next year, second quarter, third quarter, possibly, who knows. Moving on, GOP policy arm releases paper exploring benefits, risks of crypto. The paper signals that Senate Republicans are edging toward a more unified approach to crypto regulation. This was posted April 8th. Policy arm of U.S. Senate Republicans has issued a policy paper on crypto, signaling the GOP is making its way toward a more unified approach to crypto regulation. The Senate Republican Policy Committee, chaired by U.S. Senator Roy Blunt, works to form legislative policy goals for the party, as well as provide research and analysis on a variety of subjects. Short policy paper titled Cryptocurrency Goes Mainstream was published on April 7th and explores both the benefits of the dark side of cryptocurrency. While the paper touts the potential for crypto to reduce transaction costs and speeds and increase privacy, it also calls attention to crypto's role in nefarious purposes like ransomware, attack payments, scams, speculation, and drug trafficking. Though nothing in the paper's new information, the paper itself is noteworthy because it demonstrates the development of a more cohesive Republican policy position on crypto. Senate Republicans have been, on the whole, more supportive of the crypto industry than Senate Democrats, but policy efforts have been sporadic. Varying levels of crypto education have also been a challenge on Capitol Hill. While some lawmakers are crypto savvy, others, as Senator Ted Cruz has claimed on multiple occasions, could not explain what in the hell a cryptocurrency is. The RPC paper is a sign that those days could be numbered, and Joe Biden's executive order on crypto issued last month, he called for a whole of government approach to crypto regulation, something the RPC paper notes. The objectives in the executive order included protecting consumers, investors, and businesses, and ensuring privacy, maintaining financial stability, and guarding against illicit uses such as money laundering and ransomware, the report reads. The order also called for the U.S. to continue leading the development of digital assets and for promoting access to affordable financial services. Have to see where things fall out with the midterms coming up in November. It's possible Republicans may do well. It's looking that way. They might be able to take the House. And have to see what happens in the Senate. If that were to happen, I think you'd have a better chance of crypto legislation moving forward in the U.S. Moving on, Bitcoin 2022 Miami, mining gets its moment under the sun. Again from CoinDesk. The mining industry took up plenty of space and mind share at Bitcoin 2022 in Miami, with one participant calling it a real deal center. For the mining industry, Bitcoin 2022 in Miami was promoted to take center stage after spending previous conferences more in the shadows. The sector took over almost half the exhibition space at the show, and there were plenty of lively discussions on mining with packed audiences. Throughout the week, new mining rigs were unveiled. Long lines of visitors were seen at the booths of mining services firms, and some of the larger mining companies said they had their people sniffing around for deals. In addition, Wall Street investment firms and financial institutions such as B. Riley, H.C. Wainwright, and BNY Mellon hosted events to schmooze with miners, and the week's mining parties were buzzing with attendees from pools to venture capitalists. There were even some deals that were announced during the week, including Applied Blockchain's filing for a mining IPO and Core Scientific's $75 million debt transaction. You've got Jack Dorsey now forming a new company called Block, working on possibly consumer-grade Bitcoin mining, async miners. Intel has made a lot of advancements. They've come out with a Bitcoin-specific CPU that is not as power-intensive as the existing Bitcoin async miners. I have to see how that unfolds. The smaller miners, more of the mom and pop at-home miners, might be able to pick up some of these new async miners from the big mining rig operations as they sell off some of their stock. So I've been following Son of a Tech on YouTube. He covers a lot of that. Moving on, OpenSea sitting on ticking time bomb as lawsuits pile up over stolen apes, the classic apes. We talked a little bit about that on a past Canuck Yankee. Checking out the OpenSea site. A lot of these classic apes are going for around $6,000 US. The main currency for buying NFTs is Ethereum, with Solana second. OpenSea sitting on ticking bomb as lawsuits pile up over stolen apes. The NFT marketplace is now facing at least 3 lawsuits over stolen cartoon apes after a new complaint was filed this week. The NFT marketplace OpenSea is now facing at least 3 lawsuits over stolen cartoon apes after lawyers for a New York man filed a lawsuit in New York State Supreme Court claiming that his Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT was taken from him due to what he characterized as security vulnerabilities of the OpenSea platform. Lawyers unaffiliated with the cases told Motherboard that whatever the merits of the individual suits, the situation has the potential to cause trouble for the $13 billion Web3 startup, often referred to as the eBay of NFTs, as they could potentially reveal its inner workings and invite a torrent of other suits that the company will be forced to defend against. Over email, an OpenSea spokesperson told Motherboard the comment does not comment on active litigation. The newest $1 million lawsuit filed on behalf of Michael Vasile is similar to another lawsuit filed in February by the same lawyer on behalf of a aggrieved Texas man. In both cases, the men say they lost their apes because of alleged bugs in OpenSea's code the company knew about but did not take appropriate steps to fix. There's also a third ape-related lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Nevada. One of Vasile's lawyers, Ash Taghi, said a hacker took advantage of a glitch in OpenSea code that allowed earlier listings to be activated and fulfilled by a scammer. In late January, after one of Vasile's listings for 135 ETH expired, and before he relisted it at a higher price, he alleges that a scammer via what the suit calls a forced listing bought the ape at 24.89 ETH or 80,000 as of today, and then flipped the Bored Ape for 92.9 ETH or almost 300,000, according to the complaint. Yeah. So, coming from Twitter, MJ129.eth, we need your help for the lost apes because of OpenSea listing exploits. Show your support by getting one from Nifty Taylor, and let's stand together to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. So there it is. There's the lost ape. My stolen ape, 8858. Moving on to Bizarro. We've got an Elon Musk Bizarro. Elon Musk says humans could eventually download their brains into robots, and Grimes thinks Jeff Bezos would do it. There's Musk with his girlfriend at the Heavenly Bodies Fashion and the Catholic Imagination Costume Institute Gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Looking stunning. Not Elon, his girlfriend, actually. Very goth-like. It's nice. Elon Musk says a lot of seemingly fantastical things. For example, The billionaire Tesla and SpaceX CEO seems to believe that humans will eventually be able to live forever by downloading their brains into robots. I think it is possible. Musk, 50, recently told Insider, yes, we could download the things that we believe make ourselves so unique. Now, of course, if you're not in that body anymore, that is definitely going to be a difference. But as far as preserving our memories, our personality, I think we could do that. By Musk's accounts, the technology will be a gradual evolution from the today's forms of computer memory. Our memories are stored in our phones and computers with pictures and videos. Say computers and phones amplify our ability to communicate, enabling us to do things that would have been considered magical. We've already amplified our human brains massively with computers. Creating the artificial brain, Graziano noted, would be relatively straightforward. To upload a human brain, we probably want a scanner that doesn't kill the subject and would need it to scan about 100 million times as many details, he wrote. That technology doesn't yet exist. The most widely optimistic predictions place mine uploading within a few decades, but I'd not be surprised if it took centuries. One of Musk's current startup ventures, Neuralink, is working to develop brain-machine interfaces that, in Musk's own words, could one day allow people to store your memories as a backup and restore the memories. Neuralink right now is being used with paraplegics, people that are disabled. Not sure. Musk is saying he's going to get it in the consumer realm, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Moving on to Bizarro from Phys.org. First audio recorder on Mars revealed 2 speeds of sound. The first audio recordings on Mars reveal a quiet planet with occasional gusts of wind, where 2 different speeds of sound would have a strange delayed effect on hearing, scientists said Friday. After NASA's Perseverance rover landed on Mars in February last year, its 2 microphones started recording, allowing scientists to hear what it is like on the red planet for the first time. In a study published in Nature Journal on Friday, the scientists gave their first analysis of the 5 hours of sound picked up by Perseverance's microphones. Let's check out this YouTube video. I don't know if they can actually play the sounds. We'll see. Perseverance, here we go. One of Russia's NASA rovers on Mars recently captured a new sound recording. So there you go. Kind of like an ASMR on Mars. Maybe somebody will put that on a loop and create something on YouTube. Finishing up the last Bizarro, coming from HeraldWeekly.com. These are hilarious signs only found in Texas. And starting it off, please do not enter. The United States of America has a culture of suing, and this sign looks to lay out this series of events for the passerby. Please do not enter the dangerous area beyond this gate. You quite possibly will get hurt. then you will sue, then a protracted court battle will ensue, exhausting your financial resources, and you will lose because this sign that warned you will be exhibit number uno. Indeed. You have been warned that you may get hurt and that your defense won't stand up in a court of law, as this will be used as evidence against you. Second sign, attention, firearms are relatively common in Texas, and this sign looks to cover all of the options. Attention, idiots, there are only 3 reasons to unholster your loaded firearm. You are robbing us, you are shooting the person robbing us, you are a complete incompetent idiot. Please do not unholster a loaded weapon in our store. If you do, the following will apply to each of the above. You will be shot. You will be thanked. You will be treated like an idiot and asked to leave. If you are offended by this message, you can assume you fall in the 3rd category. With an air of humor about it, the owners of this establishment clearly don't want people to take their firearms out of their holsters, but if you're doing so to help them with someone trying to rob them, you will be thanked. Third sign is a copy of the first one. I don't know why it's there. All right, so the 4th one is danger. Signs can state the obvious, and this one is a perfect example. Helicopters make lots of noise, and if you can't figure out that the big thing with the spinning blades might be a dangerous thing for you to approach unsupervised, then the big bold letters at the top also try and make it clear. Danger. Helicopter operating area. Keep out. There is a sense of humor in this sign, too. And here we go. Life after death. This is one of the age-old questions. If you're not sure, this sign is warning you that you might be able to find out by trespassing. Is there life after death? Trespass here and find out. For those less interested in dying, it's advised to stay well away from the area to be safe. Dads and daughters, guns are popular theme here in Texas, and it's likely that lots of dads will own a gun. Guns don't kill people. Dads with pretty daughters kill people. If you're wrong their daughters, you may find yourself in trouble. So that's a warning to those boys out there who might think of dumping a girl because their dad may be on to you. Moving on, jail cell. This person clearly didn't listen to the warning signs and is getting ready for a period of incarceration. Before they head off, it looks like they are trying to sell a few things to get a bit of cash ahead of their jail time. Going to jail cell. 2835 West Alameda. Go check it out. A going to jail cell. Moving on, bring your own. This sign is being lighthearted about men picking up women in bars. We do not serve women. You must bring your own. You may have to bring a date to be sure you'll spend your evening with a lovely lady, as the bar owners aren't responsible for your chances at romance. Beer, if you're post-breakup, this may be the place to drown your sours. Our beer is as cold as your ex's heart. They promise extra cold beer for those times when you want to remember why you broke up in the first place. Moving on, big nachos. This is an interesting statement, as we know people come in all shapes and sizes. Nachos as big as your ass. Are they suggesting they will match the portion of nachos to the size of the customer's derriere? Either way, there is free Wi-Fi available, so you can upload a picture of your nachos when they do eventually arrive. Food pyramid. Texas sure love their food. Lots of meat, ice cream, pies, and of course Tex-Mex. A combination of Mexican with Texas twist, a Texan twist. The Texas food pyramid. Steaks at the top, chicken fried steak. Below that, to the right of that, Mexican food. Below that, we've got barbecue. To the right of that, tacos, pecan pie in the bottom, and bluebell on the bottom right. Expect Texas-sized portions and a steak shaped like the state. I know there's a steakhouse in, I believe, Alameda, Texas. It's like, I don't know, it's a massive 40-ounce steak or something like that. If you can eat the whole thing, I think in an hour, you get it for free. I think it's in Alameda. I see if I can find it. A 72-ounce steak. I thought it was 40. Is this in Alameda? Alright, I don't know where it is, but here it is. I thought it was Alameda. That might not even be a place in Texas. I've never been to Texas, but there it is. Check it out, the Big Texan, www.bigtexan.com, the 72-ounce steak. You don't even need to make a reservation. With this, waiting for this silly site to load sometime today. The Big Texas Ranch, there it is. Gotta eat the entire meal in 1 hour before the time starts. We will be allowed to cut into the steak and take one bite. The steak tastes good and is cooked to your satisfaction. We will start the time upon your acceptable approval. The time will not stop, and the contest is on. So make sure before you say yes. And you will be disqualified if anyone assists you. So, yeah, check it out. One day I will get down there and check this out. Vegetarian, moving on with the signs article, the Texas signs. We just saw how much Texas loves their food, and their favorite food is good. Oh, we already did that one. A secondhand vegetarian, cows eat grass. I eat cows. Trucks for SUV. These are trucks. This is a SUV with a birth defect. Wow. Speed limit, 80 or 85, maybe 90, but don't go 100. Okay, what the heck? It's Texas. Here's a Texas map. The map gives you some perspective over the size of Texas. It takes up pretty much this massive area of Europe. The 4 seasons, crash course in Texas weather. Hot, dry, arid, hotter, humid, sticky. The 4 seasons. January, summer, summer, and Christmas. Texas rain gauge, a little bottle cap. Welcome to Laredo, where everybody knows everybody and the weather is bipolar. Population, Alpine, Texas, established 1883, elevation 4,500 feet, population 5,686, zip 79830. All right, that's about it. There's a few more, but it goes on and on. Check it out in the show notes if you want. That is the end of the Canuck Yankee Show, and I am going to call it right here, right now. Thanks, everybody, for your support. We'll see you on the next stream. Once again, the Canuck was not able to make it due to internet issues, so hopefully we'll have the Canuck back next Sunday in full force. Maybe even he'll do another piano jingle. So be on the lookout for that, and take care, everybody.